Hey everybody, welcome to the morning market briefing. It's Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. Hope you're doing well out there. Ben, Tom, how we doing?
Good, strong. Lots to go over today.
Lots to go over. Lots to talk about.
Things are happening.
We're all over the place. Before we get going, make sure you check out the jacobsladdergroup.org. And if you don't know about our event on April 1st, go listen to all our other podcasts for the last month. You can catch up. Ben, let's start with the war. How do you feel about the state of play right now?
This is about as good as I've felt from since the day that we went in. I feel like for the first time I can see potential light at the end of the tunnel. And the reason is I'm watching oil markets, and oil continues to be contained or go down. I know it's come back a little bit because Iran shut off its own gas supply.
Got him.
So, but I mean, I think that speaks to kind of this narrative of there's not really a lot of leadership going on in Iran right now. Seems like a lot of the people who would be the leaders are no longer with us. I mean, I guess they were never really on our side, but no longer on this earth.
Good clarification there.
The president is rumored to have submitted his resignation following the killing of the head of security, Ali Larijani.
Fabulous he.
And his son.
And so Pezeshkian was rumored to submit the resignation and wanted to talk to the new supreme leader, Moshadi Khamenei, but the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, said you can't meet with him right now.
He's busy.
So
Which could mean a lot of things.
The president doesn't want to be there. No one's seen anything other than cardboard of the new supreme leader. The head of the security is dead. There's another guy who was killed overnight. So they kind of don't really have anything. Al Jazeera actually wrote about this, saying, what's happened is the campaign has been, quote, imperfect. Its public communication poor, and its post-conflict planning incomplete. War is never clean, but the actual strategy measured in degraded capabilities rather than cable news cycles is working. So they think and what they're pointing out is the pre-delegation, which is essentially all of these attacks that seem fairly uncoordinated that are coming from different places. That's all pre-delegated. It's not actually being commanded right now. And it's a sign of desperation, not strength. It means the center can no longer coordinate. They say the Iranian attacks will continue, but they will become increasingly uncoordinated, strategically incoherent, and politically costly. And that's what we're seeing.
On the pre-delegation, Ben, I've not followed this aspect closely, but is that kind of a situation where it's like, hey, man, if I'm out, go ahead and take a look at my accounts. Hey, Tom, if there's some fixed income that needs, on accounts that I'm the lead, y'all just have at it. But it's not. But the point would be okay, it's getting done, but it's not like I'm quarterbacking.
Right, exactly. Okay. It's like this pre-planned disaster.
When in doubt, you go hit this territory.
Yep. And I think that, when you're looking at the U.S. firing munitions against missile sites on the Strait of Hormuz last night, and then the USS Tripoli coming from Japan to the Middle East. That'll arrive in the middle of next week. They're bringing 2,500 Marines. I think that this idea, I do think there will be boots on the ground. I think that they will be designed to keep the ports clear of any mine ships and any attempts to launch more missiles. But I think that's what probably is likely to happen, in my opinion. But I don't think it's going to be massive combat, and I don't think there's going to be they're going to try to overthrow the regime based on what Trump said.
What regime? Bang, got him.
I feel like they've done it.
Yeah.
When would you expect troops on the ground?
Probably middle of next week or a little bit later.
What does Kaushi say?
Oh, that's a good question. But the reason I think that is because they say 1 to 2 weeks for the ship to arrive.
Yeah.
And so they have 2,500 Marines. You don't move 2,500 Marines from Japan to the Middle East just to have them hang out on a boat.
Yeah. We're about, 2.5 weeks in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you we're looking at the early, maybe not the initial, but the early timeline of a 4 to 5 week thing. We're kind of at the midpoint.
I'm more confident in that timeline than perhaps I've been.
Yeah,
certainly in the last 2 weeks.
You seem that way, and not to say you're right, but
and the implication for markets is, I think that energy might be a little bit expensive here. Energy stocks, oil probably as well, and I also think that some of the stocks that have really been hit as a result of the war, I think might actually end up doing fairly well, and the Fed could get caught offside again by a Fed meeting and then subsequent new news.
Well, we had to
changes.
adjust to everything, and then base case is back on the table.
And I mean, I feel like this happens after every single Fed meeting. I mean, it happened was it July, Tom, where we had a Fed meeting one day, and literally the next day, the jobs number came out that wiped off 1 million jobs.
Yep.
And it's like, the jobs market is not strong.
Yeah.
So this has happened before, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen again.
Tom, are you on Kalshi? What odds are there on the war? Period. What?
So there aren't a lot that are really interesting. You've got,
Which, by the way, quick timeout. I recognize this is an astoundingly dark thing to be wagering on.
well, a lot of them really are more election based. So you've got timeline for U.S.-Iran nuclear deal, average traffic through the state of Hormuz on April 1st.
Ooh, what's that one?
Above 20 and above 10 are the leading odds at 39% and 66%. So I'm not sure exactly what 10 traffic is, but I'm assuming that's ships. Will Reza Pahlavi lead Iran this year? Will he visit this year? Will the U.S. recognize him as the leader this year? Full week traffic bets. Who will visit Iran before July? Any U.S. House member, Reza Pahlavi. Will Iran become a democracy this year? Will they hold a democratic election this year? Will Donald Trump visit Iran this year? 11% chance before January 1st, 2027.
I'm going to go with no on that one.
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea.
Seems like to save money.
Yeah, so those are really the only ones that are on there. Nothing really interesting, at least in terms of like when will the war end.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Fed meeting today, Tom. We had a 20-year auction yesterday. It was pretty good. What are we looking at?
The auction was the strongest since January. January's obviously was historically strong, at least in the almost 6 years that we've had the 20-year Treasury back. I mean, today's going to be interesting because we'll get a lot of commentary. We did just get PPI, and it did come in surprisingly hot. I haven't had a chance to pull up the actual data within it, but the expectation was for 0.3% month over month. It came in at 0.7. Final demand 3.4% versus 3%, and then core ex food ex energy came at 3.9 versus 3.7. Notably, last month was revised down slightly, but that was a big surprise. I'm interested to see how much of the importers marking up their goods factor is, because that's the thing that's been driving it the most. But also, this data is stale because the survey was done pre war in Iran and oil spike. So it's interesting because we've seen rates fall quite a bit. I mean, the 20-year was very, very strong. The long end of the curve fell. The 10-year came back to a 420. It's been as high as a 429 within the last, 36 hours. And I think we're probably in a good spot. We sold off a little bit. We're a little below that before PPI came out. Everything turned slightly right after. But, I mean, I still think that 410 is probably, assuming no war in Iran, that's probably where we should be. I mean, you can kind of give it a 10 basis point premium due to the uncertainty around oil prices, but that's coming down. I think, to Ben's point, I kind of get the feeling that the worst is over for the Iran thing. It's kind of like everything else that's happened over the last 5 years, where initially the news is so dark and so aggressive and everyone immediately predicts a bleak and horrible future, but in reality that's not there. Lest we forget the empty shelves at Christmas time due to the tariffs. And the empty shelves at Christmas time due to Putin's price hike.
Christmas continues to climb back into that fight and stock the shelves.
Yeah, it's amazing that wars in foreign countries that don't even have Santa Claus somehow ratchets up the war on Christmas.
Yeah, jokes on Walmart.
Yeah, so Not a lot here today, but I mean, we'll obviously dig into the data and figure out if there's anything worth, massaging in or out of PPI to make sure that number is at least accurate. But I mean, I still think we're settling into, given the recent gyrations in the oil market. I mean, why can't we settle into a world where the Federal Reserve, the rate is at 3, which I think is the right level. I think inflation is somewhere between 2 and 3 most of the time, and unfortunately, unemployment is probably going to have to settle in around 6, if not higher, due to the efficiency gains of AI. I mean, I think that's probably the new world order going forward, and I think it's going to take economists and people who've been anchoring to very low inflation and very low unemployment for a long time to reset to this is the new normal, and rates are going to be higher, probably not as high as they are right now for the foreseeable future.
And Tom, I do wonder on that unemployment rate, we may not actually see the unemployment rate.
We just see withdrawals from the.
But people may just drop out of the labor force.
Yeah.
So they may be laid off and then just stop looking for work. And that's kind of gets to the.
Or go back to wherever they came from.
Yeah.
Because that's really where a lot of, you've basically seen government and foreign-born jobs fall off a cliff. There's actually been slight upticks in non-governmental and non-foreign-born job gains, which depends who you ask. I think would be preferable, but that's just me.
Sustainable,
yeah.
One thing on the producer price index, just kind of going through some of the numbers. One of the things that really moved it higher was a 48.9% jump in prices for fresh and dry vegetables. So 49%.
Are fresh and dry vegetables two different things?
Yes.
So dry
so
vegetables.
fresh vegetables and dry vegetables.
So fresh vegetable would be theoretically one that's wet on the inside, like an apple, and a dry vegetable would be something like corn. That's dry
both
on the
of those
inside?
are fruit, I believe.
Well, yeah, technically, but like as they're delineated in the
Yes,
PPI
I
foodstuffs. Yeah, what's
I think you're right.
Yeah, what would be a wet vegetable? Tomatoes are fruit.
Wet
Lettuce?
vegetable.
Lettuce, I guess. Would it be stuff that gets sprayed by the
Yes.
thundercloud in Kroger.
Yeah, the pretend thunder.
I do love that. One of the
So
great innovations.
A carrot, perhaps, is a wet vegetable, or is that a dry vegetable?
Depends on the day, I think.
Onion I think would be a dry vegetable.
Okay.
Oh, I would have
so like a
thought.
garlic also.
Potato.
Lettuce, celery, radishes, zucchini.
Oh, lettuce is a dry vegetable.
No, wet.
Wet.
And radishes,
Zucchini.
zucchinis and radishes also wet vegetables. I would say radish is as close to dry a vegetable as you can get while still maintaining some moisture. We need to do a full breakdown tomorrow.
Yeah.
And also final demand services. On the services side, it was traveler accommodation services. So hotels.
Travel agents.
Yeah. Lululemon down 2%, Ben. Hate to see it.
Yeah, not terribly surprising. This is a company that made 60% gross margin in apparel, and you just don't see 60% gross margins in apparel. Usually it's 35 to 40%. Nike, who I think we would generally agree probably has a stronger, certainly historically stronger brand than Lululemon. They've had 45% gross margins at their peak, and they also are in footwear, which is a business with a wider moat than apparel. So Lululemon is just over-earned for too long, and so even though their revenue is expected to be up this year, 2 to 4%, they think that earnings per share are going to be down about 10% on a year basis, and that follows another 10% drop from the prior year. So they still don't have a CEO. They don't have any full-time CEO. So what they did, what's better than one full-time CEO is 2 part-time co-CEOs, temporary. And
Netflix style.
So
if you have 2 CEOs, you don't have one.
So they're still on the CEO hunt, and they're just not going anywhere fast.
General Mills reporting, but before we get to that, some, I guess not breaking news anymore. It's about 15 hours old, but Ben Nye reporting from the street, I assume yesterday, General Mills cereal, 3 for $5 at Kroger.
Yep. So, I mean, really, General Mills, I think, has probably, in my opinion, it's the third. It's the worst of the big three in terms of cereal portfolios. I put Post number one.
I feel like that's a hot take.
It is a hot take. It's a very hot take. I
you
think
got Cheerios, which I feel like is synonymous with you also have Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is I would consider a premier cereal. It's probably the most popular cereal of the last.
And Kellogg's has Fruit
years.
Loops. But no, I think I think General Mills might have Apple Jacks as well. But Post has my favorite, Grape Nuts.
Grape Nuts being anyone's favorite cereal.
I mean, this is
which are never on sale, so I never buy them. It's like $6.49 a box. You don't
well,
get
you get
a
like
whole lot.
4.5 pounds. I mean, like per ounce, Grape Nuts has to be one of the most nutrient dense foods of all time.
it's very really pack you up. In the morning.
3 bites and your jaw is tired. You feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You're so full.
It's like horse food.
Yeah.
But no, General Mills. I think Cheerios is their big one anyway. But they reported earnings. So 3 for $5. So if you have any desires for General Mills, they also have some of their second tiers are things like Golden Grams.
Man, Golden Grams. That's a solid cereal.
Golden ticket idea.
Yeah.
But no. So I mean, General Mills, great deals. So go to Kroger, stock up.
When you see 3 boxes of cereal, General Mills, name brand cereals for $5, does it resonate with the Ben Nye's America is Back index at all?
I get excited.
Yeah.
I do get excited. I don't get I think it's probably not a great sign for the economy.
How much of the
I did buy 3 boxes last night.
How much of the Doritos getting price cuts, cereal
39%
getting
overall savings on my Kroger bill.
How much of the Doritos having to force price cuts, cereal having to force price cuts, has to do with the fact that these things have been dropped in 17 states from SNAP benefits? Because I think there's a fair amount of demand that's slowly getting sucked out. And RFK Jr. is on the record as saying, quote, Fruit Loops are not food. which is I think that could be confirmed true. You can eat it, but I don't think that it is food.
I think that plays a role. I think they also pushed way too hard on the price, especially on the snacks.
Yeah. Because there was so much free demand.
Yep.
You know, teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a year. Give a man free fish, and the price of free fish goes up a lot.
Give a man a box of grape nuts for $6, and he'll say, "I'll take 3 boxes of General Mills."
Yeah, you're gonna need a Sherpa to carry it out of there, though. Grape nuts is that food? It's not a nut. Just in the same way that an apple is not a vegetable.
It also is not related to grapes at all.
Yeah.
I don't know why they came up with grape.
Yeah, you guys go on. I'm gonna figure out why.
But Post also owns Malto Meal, which has.
I just want to point out. I just did a quick. I guess this is just Jim and I, but even in the Post family, the top selling Post branded cereals: Fruity Pebbles, Honey Bunches of Oats, Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds, Cocoa Pebbles, and Malto Meal, followed by Fruity Dino Bites. Notably absent grape nuts.
How about this? CW Post found that in the baking process of his cereal that it created glucose, which he closely associated with grape sugar. And so the sugar process of the baking reminded Post of grapes, and he combined that with its nutty flavor. And another theory was that he thought the small nuggets resembled grape seeds. It certainly has the consistency of eating seeds.
All right, here we go. Some cereal trivia.
Or rocks, I would say. Pebbles. Ironically, Pebbles is something else.
Cheerios, the number 1 selling cereal. 139.1 million boxes in a year. Honey Nut Cheerios comes in number 3 at 129.3.
Wow, so they didn't even combine the Cheerios family.
Cheerios are 1 and 3. Frosted Flakes, number 2 at 130.
Really?
Yep.
Frosted, that's a Kellogg.
That's
Kellogg's
Kellogg.
Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger.
Man,
Shout out, Tony.
I was big on Frosted
Here's what's
Flakes
a little
in
surprising
middle
to
school.
me, just given all the things that are not foodish about cereal. Lucky Charms way down at number 5 at 86.4 million.
So that's a General Mills. I bought a box of Lucky Charms last night.
Yeah.
Lucky Charms
St.
is
Patrick's
is maybe the most overrated cereal of all time, because the cereal itself tastes like nothing, and the marshmallows also sort of taste like nothing.
Yeah. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, 105.2.
So that puts it at 4.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is a powerful cereal.
I'm looking on here. I'm not seeing Grape Nuts.
I mean, Grape Nuts. I would guess that Grape Nuts sells less than 10 boxes a year.
So
Grape Nuts trails notable
Yucky cereals,
like variants of yucky cereals,
Honey
like,
Bunches of Oats.
like Raisin Bran Crunch, not regular Raisin Bran,
That's the
and
jazzed up version.
and Captain Crunch's Crunch Berries.
Dude, Raisin Bran also stinks. Like the cereal itself in many of these cereals is awful. Like if you had Raisin Bran with no raisins, I mean that's just punishment. In the same way that eating Grape Nuts is punishment. Like I remember, if you'd be like, oh, you got Grape Nuts, you'd be like, oh, great. Today's gonna be a horrible day, sitting at the table trying to chew through just a pile of rocks.
Cardboard.
It's the only cereal that you put it in the cereal and then you don't see it because it's just at the bottom.
It sinks and does not float. You're like, I'm going to drink the milk out first so I can get to the cereal.
So it doesn't taste like cardboard.
Williams Sonoma. Looks like the stock's about flat.
Yeah, they report at 9. So.
All right. Any closing remarks on breakfast or anything else?
Just get eggs, man. Eggs and bacon.
Just get some eggs.
That's what's good for you. I haven't had a bowl of cereal in a long time. I do like cereal, but at some point I stopped buying it as an adult,
stop.
and I never went back.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, I enjoy it. If I'm at if there's a continental breakfast and I'm running late, I might get the little bowl where you peel the top off and just pour the milk in.
Yeah, same. But otherwise, I don't seek it out.
No.
Don't eat a lot of breakfast outside of Thursdays either.
Yeah, same.
Burrito is a premier breakfast.
Which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow day.
Tomorrow day is burrito day.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Make sure you subscribe, give us a follow, check us out on YouTube, check out the jacobsladdergroup.org, and if you're around on April 1st at 12:30, come by for a free lunch and an educational event where we'll learn more about the Jacobs Ladder Group. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon.